Morning everyone. So this morning I'm going to be making some stabilizer jack mounts. You can mount them right to the frame, but what I'm building is I'm actually building a quick release so I can pull a pin and pull my jacks off. Height is an issue because I only have about a foot clearance, and the jack is anywhere from some spots probably about 2 inches to in the center it's probably more like 4, which when you're only a foot off the ground, and trailers, unlike a car, they kind of balance each other out because you have the dual axle, but when you have a single axle you get a lot more tip happening. So when you're getting close to the ground like that, it's a problem. So I want to be able to pull them off. Maybe I'll never put them on, maybe it's too low to drive with, or maybe it'll be just fine and they never come off, I don't know. Or if I want to just lose some weight because I don't think I need them, I just pull a pin and pull them off. So basically that's what I'm going to be doing, just using, I'm just going to make them out of aluminum. Basically it's just a bunch of sandwich plates. Basically you get one plate that bolts onto the jack, just a 1/4 inch plate. That'll be countersink bolts bolting the jack to the top of the jack. Then I basically make a plate that's bigger than it, and it slides in between it with the spacers to give it enough room to slide in and out, because if I make it the exact same size, trying to put it in and out will be a real pain in the butt. And then basically I'll have a pin that slides in front of it and locks it in so it can't fall out. So should be fairly simply done, and should work really well, and now's the time to build it. I'd rather do it now. So yeah, hopefully it works good, but that's what I'm doing, so you can see how I built it.
After measuring and cutting all the different plate sizes to make the brackets down, I took them to the belt sander and beveled all the external edges to allow lots of place for the weld to sit, so when I grinded them smooth I wouldn't grind all my welds off.
Alright, so I cut a bunch of aluminum up, trying to make the stabilizer jack supports. So the idea is that if this thing is bolted permanently, I have all this height, which is say roughly around 4 inches, and at the very tip I'd still have 2.5 to 3 inches of height lost, and I'm only a foot off the ground. So when the trailer tips, I don't want these hitting and ripping the jack apart or my trailer. So I'm making quick connects so you can pop the jacks off very easily. So basically the idea is this plate will bolt to here, countersunk bolts, and then this will be mounted to the frame. So what I've done is made a channel for it to sit in. So basically this will be the trailer, and then this would just, if this was attached, this would just slide into place like that, and then a pin would go on each side to hold it in, and there'll be a plate on the back so it can't slide all the way through. So then it's on both sides, and then you just pull the pins out and slide it off and take your jacks away. So that's basically what I'm making. I think that's a good way to go when you have a vehicle anything that's fairly low. Stuff like this is a problem. Clearance is always an issue, and like I say, with the trailer it's a little bit different. They don't go like this more, they do that more when they're traveling. So when you're, like I say, probably about a foot off the ground, well, when you get that tip, my axle's about 40 inches from the rear point. So, you know, 40 inches, it doesn't take much to bring that down. So if you have any rocks or bumps or speed bumps or anything, depending on the incline, it can be a problem. So anyway, this is how I figured I'd solve that problem, because it was something I was worried about, and it was extra work, but it's not too bad. So that's all ready to weld, and it should be good. So basically what I've done is beveled all the edges. So all of these are low spots in between all the plates. I'll put it in the vise. I'll weld in between all those in the fronts, and then I can basically smooth it so it's perfectly flush all the way around. Same with the back. It's this plate is beveled both sides, so it'll be welded on the top and on the bottom, and then basically I'll be able to flush it into a nice solid looking brick. You could mill this if you really wanted to, but this was just easier and faster, so it'll do for me. So that's how I did it. That's what I'm doing. It's something that most trailers really should have. I've seen a lot of people hook them and rip their jacks apart, and sometimes if they're really unlucky, it'll take their trailer and bend it all to hell with it. So I think for me this is the better route. So if you have that issue with an RV or anything else, that's how to fix it.
You can see that I sit there and I kind of sneak a little plate in between, and I put that underneath there as a spacer to make sure that if the weld was to pull in any direction, that it wouldn't pull down on the inside, and I would guarantee that I would have the right distance, and it wouldn't be too tight, which shouldn't be an issue anyway because it usually gets pulled towards the weld. But it's good practice sometimes to put a piece in between the gap that is the size that you want it to be, to make sure that it doesn't close in during the process. Now, in my humble opinion, you really can't go wrong building something like this. Basically, whether you're a lowrider trailer, whether you're a high off-road trailer, clearance, you can never have enough of it, whether you're going over rocks or avoiding speed bumps. So this is a really easy way to either lighten your load, get more clearance, take them off and service them easier, to keep them oiled up and clean. There's really no losing to building something like this that I can see of, and I figured this would be a great thing to do moving ahead, as I've seen lots of them fail and a lot of problems because of the heights, dragging up and down ramps over speed bumps. It's just a great way to eliminate a really easily fixed problem. So after making these all one piece, sanding them all smooth, getting them all fixed up and ready, I then took them to the drill press, drilled the holes for the mounts to the frame, and drilled the holes for the pins. And after setting the pins in, I realized that they would be better if they were curved to allow the pin to lock in better, and also for ease of putting it in, so it was radiused and ended up working out really well. Holds it, it's never going to fall out. And yeah, I use the drill press because it's just easier. And also, if you notice where the holes are, it actually allows and takes the stress off any of the welds, so you don't have to worry about it cracking or anything like that if that was ever going to be an issue, because the bolts actually go all the way through all 3 plates to the frame, so it becomes all one unit. I had to make a little spacer custom milled to the right thickness to allow an extra little gap so I could slide in and out the plates without them binding because they were too tight. So you can see on this how there's a slight gap in between the layers to allow it to slide in and out. If I had left it and done the same size 1/4 inch piece that I did for the rest of it would be very hard to get the jack in and out. It would be a lot more tight, which is fine, but it would be very difficult to get it in and out. So I gave it, like, I don't know, I think it was maybe around a 1/16, if that, thicker spacer in the middle, and it worked out perfectly. Just enough room.
So I'm just trying to show you that why I beveled it. It's beveled so when I put my weld down the 2 sides, that when I grind it smooth, I don't grind the weld completely off. It gives me good penetration, and you don't do any damage to your welds. Okay, so what we're doing this morning is we're going to be putting in the mounts, well, the support braces, floor braces for the stabilizer jack mounts. So that'll end up just like these. So I'll put this in, and I'll put the crossbar in like this. Basically that'll all be welded into a T. And then what will happen is I'll take our mounts, which are these things that I made. So this is basically how they work. The frame, it gets mounted to the frame like this. This is on the jack, and they slide together. And then you put pins in the end, and that holds it in place so it can't come back out. So basically what's going to happen is this is going to bridge this gap right like this. So they're bigger than they probably could be because I'm stepping them in. I didn't want to rely on just one of these and do a little one out here. I figured it was nice to put the weight onto 2 of them. And I had to step it in a little bit more than just the edge because I have it, I'm going to be skirting this. So there'll be more metal on the bottom side of this frame down here. So because this is underneath, it's better for me to inset a little bit. So this is how I'm choosing to do it, and adds a hell of a lot of strength too. So I figured this is kind of the good way to go. So basically this will mount up underneath here, just like that. And then that's how my jacks will go in and out. I'll be pulling those pins, sliding in and out. The reason I'm doing this is that tons of trailers, we had a place up at a lake and I saw tons of trailers, just speed bumps. And they'd either rip their jacks off, or they'd twist them or bend them or smash them on the ground. I know tons of people that have ruined other parts of their trailer or their jacks themselves and keep having to replace them. This way, especially because I'm lower to the ground than a lot of those, it'll give me more clearance because the jack is fairly substantial. It's, I think it's about 4 inches, which the biggest part is back here, but still, even that is like probably 2 inches at the end. Well, that's 2 inches when I tip that I don't have, that I could hit the ground. So for me, it's just easier. It's also, if I'm going somewhere where I can live without them, or maybe I don't even use them, I don't know. I can just pull them off and leave them at home because it's lighter. So every little pound counts, and also just clearance when you got a kind of a low rider kind of trailer. It's not super low, but it's different when you have a single axle. It reacts different on the road than a car does. So you get a lot more tipping and tilting. So that's why I'm doing it. So this is how I'm doing it. I'm basically just going to make a T there. This will be slightly offset, and then there'll be 4 bolts that go into here, and that mount will just always stay on there, and then the other piece will be on the jack, and I put it on and off whenever I want. So this is how I'm doing it. Basically going to tack this part on, pull my clamps off, and then I will clamp this in place. Nice, get it 90, tack that in place, and then I'll weld it all up, and then I'll pull the wood, holding it nice and flush, pull that off, weld it from the bottom side, grind it out, and it's done. So that's this morning's project. So yeah, here we go.
You can see here the radiuses I put on the trailer mount to allow the clip to slide in better and to hold in and lock into that curve really well. It definitely makes it slide in a lot better, and once it's over that hump, it's going to be very hard for that clip to ever come out without being pulled. So it worked out really well. It was something that I wasn't sure if I was going to do at first, but realized that I think that was the best way to go. So that's how I did it. So due to the jack having most of the weight in the center of the plate and it's bridged across 2 pieces, I had decided to add 1 more 1/4 inch brace across so the jack was fully supported across when it was in place. You can see here. Now the floor is nice and smooth and easier to put the floor in and a whole lot stronger. So it should make for a really strong jack mount. So as you will notice, my jacks go front to back and not side to side. A lot of the traditional trailers, they go and they face side to side. Mine is done this way for a couple different reasons. As I'm skirting the sides, so the sides will be dropped a little bit from what you can see in this, but also I just thought it looked cleaner because you don't really see it very much except for under the back bumper, and I would still have to add the brace inside because I couldn't mount them on the outside because then the whole jack would be sticking out and that just wouldn't look nice. So I just thought this was a kind of a cleaner way to do it, but you could fully do the same setup and face them the other direction and it would just work fine. This is just what I decided to do on my version, and I think it'll work quite well for what I'm doing. but we'll see. But I'm pleased with them. I like the added clearance. I like the idea that I can take it off and lighten it. There's a lot of perks to this. I think it's a great little unit.
So you can see why I wanted to do this. This thing only rides about a foot to 10 inches off the ground. We'll see once I get the axle on. But down at this end you have about 4.5, and then in the center you have probably about 5.5. So I don't have the pins in to make it easy to pull off and on. You can see the pins just pop in there. Super easy. You just click in here, but it's a little jerky to do with on the camera, but you see, nice and easy to just pop off. Instantly I get 5 inches of clearance with basically zero effort, and it just slides in that distance. And you just pop your pins in, one on each side. That's it. Won't wreck my jacks, won't wreck my trailer. Added clearance. Perfect.